The government banned these 40 reggae songs for being too powerful for radio. I discovered the lost reggae track that was banned for its mysterious message. One artist was arrested just for recording it. You won't believe what they tried to silence. Stay until the end to hear the truth. When Peter Tosh released Legalize It in 1976, his demand for the decriminalization of the sacred herb was not just a stoner's anthem. It was a battle cry that rattled Jamaica's ruling class. Prime Minister Michael Manley's government, already wary of Rastafarian influence, clamped down on it with a ban. But in their attempt to smother its flame, they gave birth to a global anthem. Tosh's stern baritone made it more than a plea. It was prophecy. Yet long before that, The Haunting Tale of Mr. Brown by Bob Marley and the Wailers rode the Jamaican airwaves like a phantom. Inspired by rumors of coffin-riding Duppy in Spanish Town, its eerie delivery unsettled local authorities. Though it was not officially banned, it was suppressed quietly, treated as though folklore and reggae together were too dangerous a mix to let grow unchecked. That tension between the mystical and the political resurfaced when Prince Far, I Bellowed Blood of the Sink. His gravelly voice painted biblical visions of sacrifice and divine wrath. The song, filled with apocalyptic dread, was frowned upon though never formally outlawed, as though officials believed ignoring it might make the prophecy pass them by. Censorship, however, found sharper teeth when Max Romeo dared to criticize Michael Manley in No Joshua No. Once supporter of the Prime Minister, Romeo's disillusionment became a stinging condemnation. The song was banned outright in 1970s Jamaica, proving that even leaders celebrated as champions of the poor had their limits when it came to tolerating dissent. The same Max Romeo had already scandalized British radio with Wet Dream, a slyly erotic track cloaked in innuendo, which the BBC tried to disguise by instructing its DJs to call it simply a record by Max Romeo. Yet the ban only heightened its allure, and it still soared into the UK top 10. Romeo returned to provoke again with Chase the Devil, this time delivering a spiritual confrontation with evil spirits. Its haunting refrain about putting on an iron shirt to chase Satan out of earth was too unsettling for the BBC, which banned it for its perceived occult overtones. Supernatural imagery seemed especially threatening when it mingled with reggae's rebellious pulse. Lone Ranger's Barnabas Collins resurrected a vampire from television horror and gave him a dancehall heartbeat, while Peter Tosh's Vampire stripped away the fiction and accused political leaders of being suckers feeding on the poor. Tosh was not banned officially for this one, but the track's sharp metaphor was quietly pushed aside, a ghost the establishment wished to bury. Bob Marley, too, cloaked resistance in spectral language with Duppy Conqueror, where his voice and rhythm declared triumph over dark forces. Though never officially blacklisted, it was hushed, for to sing of conquering ghosts while living under Babylon's watchful eye was itself a form of defiance. But censorship did not stop at metaphor. It collided most brutally with politics and war. Bob Marley's War, built on the very words of Emperor Haile Selassie, became an anthem for the dismantling of apartheid and oppression. It was banned in South Africa under apartheid, where the regime recognized the danger of its call to end racism. Jimmy Cliff joined that lineage with Vietnam, his anti-war cry that resonated with American protesters even as the U.S. military sought to silence it from its radio networks. In South Africa, Black Uhuru Solidarity echoed the same defiance and met the same fate, a ban for daring to promote unity in a fractured land. Tash, never afraid of militancy, tore into apartheid with a song that carried the very name of the regime system. It was outlawed outright, a testimony to how much governments feared a rebel armed only with guitar and microphone. Some songs unnerved not for politics, but for their refusal to mask the stark realities of crime, intimacy, and rebellion. Bounty K's Look was banned in Jamaica for its graphic portrayal of violence. Yet the very aggression that unnerved authorities also drew audiences who live with the same streets he described. Ninjaman's Fire Weapon Man anthems faced similar censorship, feared as incitements during an already volatile gang era. T.O.K.'s Chi Chi Man and Shabba Ranks' Wicked in the Bed provoked bans not for violence but for homophobic lyrics that crossed lines of tolerance in Jamaica and abroad, leading to removals from airplay and international backlash. Buju Banton, in his youth, recorded a track whose homophobic content later shadowed him, bringing protests and bans long after he himself distanced from its message. Censorship also found its way into moments of humor, satire, and cultural critique. Lieutenant Stitchie's Obia Wedding poked fun at superstition, blending laughter with taboo. But Jamaican authorities saw danger in mocking spiritual practices and pushed it into suppression. Gregory Isaacs delivered Night Nurse, a song so sultry and suggestive that whispers arose linking it to illegal substance addiction, though the song itself was a love ballad. The suspicion, fed by Isaac's own struggles, gave it a darker shadow. Justin Hines and the Dominoes faced outright silencing with Carry Go Bring Come, banned in 1964 for daring to critique Jamaica's political elite in an era when even satire could end careers. Years later, Bob Andy felt the same muzzle when his Fire Burning ignited radios with political criticism. It topped charts despite the ban, a proof that songs can burn their way through silence. Few songs encapsulated the fury of state power like Pass the Couchie by the Mighty Diamonds. In 1981, Prime Minister Edward Seaga banned it for its celebration of a legal substance, but the streets refused to obey, and the song became even more popular in record shops. That act of silencing only birthed its global life. For a sanitized version, Pass the Dutchie by Musical Youth took it to international fame. Sometimes bands came dressed in fear of spirituality itself. The Melodians' Rivers of Babylon was outlawed in Jamaica in 1970, accused of spreading Rastafarian subversion, until producer Leslie Kahn defended it with the revelation that its lyrics came directly from Psalms 19 and 137. Lucky Dubé, the South African giant, carried that same spiritual power into Soul Taker, his meditation on death and the afterlife. Though never banned outright, it faced suppression, for a people told to fear death were not meant to sing so freely of its mysteries. His Rastas Never Die proved even more intense to the apartheid state, and so was banned for promoting black consciousness. Where his lyrics raised heads high, the state sought to bow them low. In London, Aswad's Warrior Charge stirred unease with its martial beats and echoes of gang wars in the city's inner streets. Though not officially banned, it was suppressed quietly, as if Britain's rulers feared that reggae might become the heartbeat of revolt among marginalized youth. Linton Kwesi Johnson, the poet of rebellion, found his politically charged recordings blacklisted across the UK for naming police brutality and systemic racism too clearly for comfort. Judge Dredd, though known for humor and double entendres, still found himself with a dubious record of 11 tracks banned by the BBC. Proof that even laughter could be too subversive when coded in reggae rhythms. Eddie Grant's Living on the Front Line suffered bans in both Britain and apartheid South Africa for its unflinching message of anti-oppression. The themes of censorship stretched endlessly across love, politics, spirituality, and death. Sizzler's Nah Apologize was banned in parts of Europe and Canada, a defiant refusal to back down from his controversial views, leading to canceled concerts. Cocoa Tea's No Blood for Oil was banned in Jamaica and the UK during the Gulf War. Its sharp critique of Western intervention seen as intolerable in a climate of military tension. Anthony B's Fire Upon Rome became a searing harm on religious hypocrisy and Babylon corruption, a song that rattled both pulpits and palaces, forcing authorities to brand it dangerous. Even Bob Marley, already the global face of reggae, was not spared suppression. His Buffalo Soldier, a meditation on the scars of slavery and survival, was banned by the BBC despite its massive popularity. Bad Card in 1980 was banned on Jamaican radio for its political undertones, treated as too inflammatory in an era of electoral tension. His supernatural Mr. Brown was hushed. His revolutionary wore silence in South Africa, his Duppy Conqueror, ignored by officials who knew better than to fan its flames. And yet each ban only lifted Marley higher, cementing his legend as a man too powerful to be erased. The sweep of blacklisted reggae songs reads like a secret history of power's fear. From Justin Hines' satire in the 1960s to Ninjaman's Fire Weapon Man chants in the 1990s, from Max Romeo's erotic and political provocations to Lucky Dube's spiritual anthems, from Shabba Ranks' homophobic lyrics to Peter Tosh's uncompromising militancy, the catalog is both sprawling and intimate. Each track represents a moment when music refused to be polite, when a rhythm carried truths that authorities would rather bury. Censorship intended to suffocate, instead immortalize them. Consider Stalag 17 by Sister Nancy's Peers, songs that lived underground even when stripped from radio, or the defiance of T.O.K. whose Chi Chi Man became a scandal across continents. Think of Judge Dredd's laughter outlawed by the BBC, of Gregory Isaac's romance stained by addiction rumors, of Bob Andy's fire that burned through censorship. Each act of banning was an act of recognition that reggae was never just music, but prophecy, satire, exorcism, confession, and call to arms. And so, the story continues in whispers and shouts, with every forbidden lyric finding its way into the bloodstream of culture. When governments declared silence, the streets turned the volume higher. When radios refused, sound systems thundered. When leaders banned, the people sang louder. These songs, blacklisted and condemned, became scriptures of defiance, etched forever into memory of reggae. They prove that censorship does not erase music. It only carves it deeper into legend. Which one do you think carried the heaviest truth that the system could not handle? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's reason about the power of music to disturb authority. And if you want more hidden stories of reggae censor history, then subscribe right now so you never miss the next revelation.